Hey, New Hope. Pastor Tommy here with your weekly update and sermon teaser. So, if you are not one of my personal friends on Facebook, you might not know or have heard that my father passed away last week. If you did hear and you did read what I posted, you'll know that my relationship with my father, it wasn't complicated. It just wasn't. He left our family when I was about 6 years old, and I saw him a few times growing up. And you could get the idea from my post that he completely abandoned us. And that is true, frankly, on one hand. On the other hand, I did see him a few times growing up, and he did do a few things for me, or at least one big thing that changed the course of my life. So even though he wasn't there, when I was in high school, some girls invited me to go to a camp, a ski camp, right? I lived in Florida. I'd never been skiing, never went to church either. I had no idea it was a Christian camp. And so I actually thought, I'm going to write my father, who lived in Seattle at the time, and ask him for $300 to go to this camp. I didn't have any really hope that he would do it, but I didn't have much other choice. I didn't have any other way to get $300. So I thought, yeah, I'll write him and see. I wrote him, and what do you know? He actually sent me money to go to this camp. And that was the camp on the very first night where I heard the gospel. I trusted Jesus, and everything in my life changed from that point on. There's been a lot of hard things in my life since then, but I wouldn't change any of that. And so, was everything bad about my dad? No, he was just absent. And I think he made a poor choice in that on one hand. On the other hand, God can make a straight blow with a crooked stick. And so, even in his just paying that $300 for me to go to camp, he really did contribute to what would change my life and change a lot of other people's lives forever. So I'm grateful for that. And a lot of you have written me, you've messaged me, you've commented on the Facebook posts, and I just want to say thank you for all that. I'm still not sure exactly what to feel about it, but I appreciate the fact that it is a great reminder of how many people love me and love my family and have just been there for us. So thank you for that. Now, for this week's sermon, on a happier note, this week's sermon I'm really excited about. This week's sermon is entitled A Mixed Race Multitude, and it's from Exodus chapter 12, verse 38. If you remember during the Exodus from Egypt, Israel, they left, and there's just one verse in there that says, and a mixed company went up with them. And that word mixed company in Hebrew actually means something like old-timey commentators say a mongrel race, or more modern commentators say a mixed race multitude. In other words, it wasn't just ethnic Israel that left. In fact, there was no ethnic Israel. They didn't become Israel till after the Exodus, really, as a nation. And who went out with them? Wow, everyone went out with them, including the Cushites, who we're going to talk about quite a bit this week. Who are the Cushites? The Cushites were black Africans from Sudan, from the Horn of Africa. In fact, they were so black that the Greeks, when they referred to them, or when they referred to other races of people, they always compared them to the Cushites. They would meet someone, say, from India, and they would say, what do they look like? And they'd say, well, their skin is dark, but not as dark as the Cushites. Well, the Cushites are all over the Bible. And because of the way translators have done things over the years, it's easy to miss that. You see, the Greeks referred to everyone in Africa as Ethiopian. And so a lot of times in English Bibles, you'll see Ethiopians did this and Ethiopians did that. That's not Ethiopians like we think. It's Cushites. The word there is Cush. And it's just amazing because you see them all over the Bible. Next week, we're going to look at Phineas, who was the most famous priest in the Bible, and he was a Cushite. And we're going to look at, week after that, Samuel's going to look at the fact that Moses married a Cushite woman. So it's just going to be cool, I think, because we're going to see that from the very beginning, God started to honor his promise to Abraham by being a blessing to all nations, and all nations became part of Israel as they left Egypt. And God said, what really makes you part of Israel is not biology, but theology. And that's something that Paul said too in the New Testament. So I'm excited to talk about it. I look forward to seeing you. We're getting closer and closer to a time, just by way of go back to update status, where we are going to be probably recording the sermons live and then posting them later on in the day sometime. It's becoming quite a bit to do both, to record and to do church. And on top of all that, Washington is opening up by the end of the month. And if you're not in church yet, you really need to come. That really needs to be part of your spiritual diet. Unless you have some reason you really can't come. So we look forward to seeing you this week. If I haven't seen you, I can't wait to see you. And I love you, Pastor Tommy, out.